There is no doubt that investing is hard, really, really hard. But if you can actually keep track of a few numbers, it can become a much easier endeavor. For instance, there are a few numbers about returns, rates of return for different asset types. If you remember that, your life will be so much easier. What do I mean by that? So bank savings, and this is for the US market in general. Bank savings yield about 1% over the long term, maybe 2%. Right now it's 5%, but it's an anomaly. It'll pretty soon go back to 1 to 2%. They yield the same amount as inflation. Bonds yield about 3 to 4%. Government bonds, corporate bonds. Corporate bonds maybe a little bit more, 5%. A portfolio of stocks and bonds, as they say, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, or something like that, you can expect around 7-8% returns over the long term. And a fully stocked portfolio invested in something like an index fund, like S&P 500 index fund, will yield about 10% per year. Now, if you invest in real estate, it yields about 3 to 4% over the long term. Real estate, that's all it yields over the long term in the United States. But S&P 500, 10%. But if you invest in some growth stocks, like those that constitute the NASDAQ 100, long-term average can be 14%, even 15% for some 10-year periods. And if you invest in startups and you know how to do it, then you can actually get up to 20% returns over the long term. So that's your spectrum to work with. Anywhere between 1% for savings account to 20% from startups. It's up to you to choose that. And if anyone tells you, hey, we invest in real estate where the returns are 3 to 4%, but they actually offer you 15% returns in real estate, you should be wary of that. If somebody's like, hey, we invest in stocks and our returns are 25% per year guaranteed, I would actually not trust them too much. If they're like, oh, we invest in startups, our returns are 50%, long term, those are highly unsustainable numbers. So keep these numbers in mind whenever somebody approaches you, whenever you see an advert, whenever somebody's like, hey, we can offer you more. There are limits, especially long term. Maybe you can get in stocks 1 year, like last year, S&P 500 returned close to 30%, like 25% returns. Yeah, 1 year, it can happen. The year before, it dropped 30%. So long-term trends, those are the numbers to keep in mind. Always keep them in mind. That these numbers, the study of these numbers and keeping these numbers in mind will keep you out of trouble when the real troublemakers, the swindlers, the con men come knocking on your door asking for money so they can invest in whatever they think can return better returns than what I spoke about. Hope it was helpful. In Xillion, we have built a lot of products, a lot of tools that actually help you optimize your portfolio based on these fundamental numbers and this analysis that I discussed just now. All you have to do is go to xillionapp.com, create an account, and we will help you find the right investments for you. And we will not tell you any unrealistic things that you otherwise can't do. Okay. Hope this was useful. Go to xillionapp.com, create an account, and see for yourself how you can achieve financial independence in 10 years or less. Thank you.